Hi, I'm Dr. Asatar Bear from Meditation 2.0, where inner peace meets modern life. And in this video, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Ellen Albertson, who is a nutritionist, a dietitian, personal wellness coach, and for over 2 decades, she has worked to help women get empowered and optimize their health and fitness. And one of her main tools is meditation. She's a meditation practitioner herself, and she teaches meditation methods that are focused on self-compassion and self-acceptance, particularly on accepting your body. So I'm just delighted to have you with us today, Dr. Albertson. And my first question for you is, the name of your website is smashyourscale.com. Why that name? And what kinds of programs do you offer?
Well, I chose the name, besides the fact that it's very sticky and people remember it very readily. Also, really, it's about women stepping off the scale, men as well, but we're, as a society, so focused on that number. And I know a lot of people are interested in weight loss, and that's fine. We all want to be at a healthy weight, we want to look good. But when we obsess about the scale, it really has a counterproductive effect because the more you obsess about it, the more you think about your weight, the more the weight becomes a problem in your life. So the focus of my website, smashyourscale.com, is to get people to eat right, exercise, be mindful because it feels good and it's good for them, not because they want the number on the scale to go down. And also, I'm extremely anti-diet. So I used to be a personal fitness trainer, and I was the expert for a lot of websites like Men's Health Online and Women's Health Online and Biggest Loser Club, things like that. And I would put people on diets, and I did that for years and realized it doesn't work long term. And we need to be approaching these issues of wellness and weight in a different way. And when you step off the scale, when you focus on the well-being, the weight becomes an outcome. So the point of Smash Your Scale is to make weight an outcome, not the focus, to focus on eating right, taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, in terms of relationships, spiritually, and the weight will come off.
Talk to me about some of the programs that you offer to help people. What kinds of things do you do? How do you connect with people and help them work with their health and fitness goals?
Well, I offer a number of different programs. I offer a coaching program, counseling program, where people, as members of SmashYourScale.com, can meet with me on a regular basis so they can get motivation, accountability, expert advice to really stay on track. Because I think that's what's really missing in a lot of the diet world, that sort of psychological behavioral component, and having someone there who can kind of help you through it and hold your hand. I also offer a women's wellness program, so not just working on your physicality, but working on your career and your relationships and your well-being and mindfulness and happiness. And then I also offer some intuitive eating, so trying to get people to focus not again on dieting, but to focus on what does my body need right now, to really listen to their bodies and also to listen to themselves emotionally and thinking about, I'm reaching for food when I'm upset. And so what do I really need right now? So that's kind of what the intuitive eating, emotional eating piece is about. And then what's closest to my heart really is the self-compassion piece. So I've done research on self-compassion. I'm a mindful self-compassion teacher. So what self-compassion is learning to treat yourself the way you would a good friend. And where this sort of fits with the whole weight loss wellness scheme is that you start to take care of your body from a place of self-love and not self-loathing. So sort of in my beginning of my career as a dietitian, people would come into my office and they would see me because they hated their bodies. I hate my body, help me change my body. And that would work up to a point, but they usually would just go back to their old habits. And now the way I work with people is, let's work on loving your body. Let's work on asking your body, what does my body need right now? What is this experience of being a human being living in a body, in a world? And when you start to listen to your body, when you start to love your body, then you start to make healthy choices from a place that's very deep, place of self-love. And it really works. You realize that, I don't really want that cupcake with 2 inches of frosting. When you give yourself permission to have the cupcake and you ask your body, do I really want that? You might think, I'd be really happy right now with a piece of fruit and maybe, a cheese stick, something a little bit healthier as a snack. So when we give ourselves permission to eat everything, when we listen to our bodies, then things start to shift in a very nice organic way. So it's been a really exciting way to work with people. I'm seeing tremendous change, but really long-term change. I'm working with people for months and years, not sort of this quick window of, I have a wedding, I have a reunion coming up, I need to drop, 20 pounds in 2 weeks, help. Because that just doesn't work. It sends the body into fight and flight. You create stress hormones, and it's very, very destructive to the body and the mind.
So I love your story about how you were part of the fitness, weight loss industry, and you just had this kind of moment of awakening. You woke up to the reality that a lot of the way that health and wellness and fitness is sold, it isn't itself very healthy, and is about playing on people's fears and hopes, and selling them things that are unrealistic. Can you talk a little bit about that? Share your story with our viewers.
Sure. Well, ironically, even though I was in great shape, I was a master personal fitness trainer at Boston Sports Club. I was, had that whole cut up look. I really didn't feel good about my body. I was constantly criticizing it and constantly adding up my calories every day and working out way too much. It wasn't healthy at all. And I think that as I started my PhD in psychology, although I started it to get more psychological tools to help people get skinny, I really started to look at the literature around this whole thin ideal, this idea that society tells women that there's really only one way we can be, and increasingly for men are sort of faced with this muscular ideal, and unless we look the way that the models on the covers of the magazines look, we don't feel very good about ourselves. So it kind of studying all of this, and I was in the magazine industry as well. I wrote for a lot of women's magazines like Self and Good Housekeeping, woke me up to this idea of we all have different bodies that really are largely genetically determined. Sure, we can make changes, we can lose some weight, but not everybody can look like a cover model. So I started really rethinking this idea, and I think that as I started meditating and practicing self-compassion and giving myself love, I stopped worrying about how my body looked, and I focused much more on how it feels. And I think at my current age, I love my body, and it's rare for a woman and a man to a large extent to say, I love this thing that carries me around all day. I really take the best possible care I can while still having fun with food and enjoying myself. So that was a real 180 shift for me to go from this place of kind of being a Jillian Michaels of beating people up and people wanted to hurt the next day to let's re-look at this. And, as you start to look at some of the studies that are being done, these ultra marathoners actually aren't that healthy. You can overdo the exercise. You can overdo this kind of restrictive eating. So there's this new balance you can find. Your body is extremely wise. There's, knowledge in every cell. And so as we start to listen to our bodies and really dialogue with what we need, we become healthy and we feel good and we can let go of this whole thin ideal and really be very comfortable in our skin.
So in your blog articles and your work on your website and so on, you talk about making peace with food. Can you tell me about that? What does that mean?
Sure. Well, so many of us have conflicted relationships with food. And I really think of myself as a food psychologist because we have this relationship with, these plants and animals that we put in our mouths and that go through our bodies. And it's very conflicted, and it starts very young because one of the first ways we interact with the world is through food. We take things into our mouths, we get comfort from food, we often have caregivers who reward us with food. So we have this really conflicted relationship. Plus we've got all of this stuff going on in our brain. We have this dopamine reward system which craves sugar and to some extent fat. So we have these cravings going on, we have these messages about food, we have this environment where we're surrounded by advertising. If we work in offices, there's often food around all the time. So we're trying to push all of this food away, but at the same time we really want it. So my job as kind of a food psychologist is really to help people have a peaceful relationship with food. So how do I eat healthy and take care of my body, and how do I eat in moderation those other things, and how do I gradually change my relationship so I am eating food that is natural, and that's whole, that's not filled with a bunch of additives. And I think it's so interesting. We think about rewarding ourselves with a cookie. Well, if that cookie contains a lot of sugar and trans fats, it's going to make us ultimately feel much worse. It actually has chemical properties that can bring our mood down. We might get very elated initially, but then we come down after the fact. So a big piece of that too is learning how to listen to your emotions. A lot of people are uncomfortable with emotions. And so through the self-compassion work I do, I teach people how to figure out, what am I feeling right now? And what do I need? And it's often not the cookie. We might need a nap. We might need to journal about how we're feeling. Maybe we need to have some exercise. Maybe we need some water. So making peace with food, it doesn't happen overnight. I don't have this sort of magic bullet, lose 10 pounds in 5 minutes by eating chocolate, but it's much more about, how do I enjoy eating? I mean, eating is incredibly pleasurable. I have all of these clients who spend a lot of time cooking these delicious dinners and then they gobble them down. So how do I get rid of that food guilt? How do I listen to my body and figure out what it is that I need? And how do I really take care of my body in the best way possible by eating right?
So as you're talking, I'm really thinking of a phrase that I hear a lot about these days, which is mindful eating. Can you talk to me about that? What is that? What is mindful eating?
Sure. Well, when we think about mindfulness, mindfulness is about paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. So that's exactly what we're doing applied to eating. So instead of, eating on the run in your car in front of the TV, which is what most of us frankly do all the time. No need to feel guilty about it. It's something we all engage with. I do it sometimes myself too. I'm rushed. But taking time to really savor your food. So to first, again, tune into your body to see, how hungry am I right now? Do I notice that, I'm starting to smell these wonderful smells and I'm salivating a little bit? Then to really look at your plate, looking at the colors, thinking about all the hands that went into preparing the food, taking a moment to be grateful, and then really to chew the food really well, to savor it, to enjoy every single bite. And what is incredible is that when people do that, when they give themselves permission to eat mindfully, to really focus on what they're eating, they eat a lot less because they're satisfied. And it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to tell your stomach you've had enough. So if you slow down, if you eat mindfully, it's actually one of the best things you can do to lose weight and to eat right. So it's a great practice. A lot of people I know do it. They don't have weight issues, but it's part of their mindfulness practice, because eating is something most of us do several times a day. And so you can really sit down and enjoy your food. So it's really about using all your senses, taking time, not being distracted. It's fine if you're eating with other people, but you don't want to have the TV on. You don't want to be like looking at your cell phone, driving in the car. And I tell a lot of people, just start with a couple meals a week or maybe one meal a day that makes sense for you. A lot of people find it's easy to do it in the evening, to really sit down. Don't put too much on your plate initially. Just give it a try, give it a month or two and see how you feel and see how it shifts your relationship with food.
One of the things that I was really struck by on your website is a study that you did that's all about how women are affected by meditation in terms of the specifically body dissatisfaction. Can you tell me a little bit about this study and what do you feel like it shows?
So what I did is I took 500 women from all over the world, a variety of ages, who were having some problems feeling good about their bodies and themselves. And I had them do a number of psychological tests just to measure things like body shame, body satisfaction, body dissatisfaction, body appreciation. And then half of the group listened to mindful self-compassion podcasts, and half of the group received them after the study was finished. And I asked them to listen to the podcast daily. They were 20 minutes of meditation podcasts. Most of them did it for about 3 times a week. And what we found was really pretty amazing. Just from listening to the podcast, self-compassion increased, body shame went down, body dissatisfaction went down, body appreciation went up. So just from listening to these podcasts, the women actually had significantly changed significantly in terms of their body images. They felt much better about their bodies. So it was pretty profound, which really got me started thinking about, how do I use this idea of self-compassion to really help women to feel better about their bodies and themselves.
Wow. Amazing results. So in the study, you talk about a self-acceptance practice, a self-compassion practice. Um, can you share that practice with our viewers here and just guide us through it, guide us through a meditation for a few minutes?
Sure. And just to talk a little bit about what self-compassion is, it's treating yourself the way you would a good friend. So I often say to people, think about, you have a friend who's suffering, maybe they're feeling embarrassed, or maybe, they got an offender bender and they're feeling bad about themselves, and think about how you respond to them. And then think about when that happens to you, what do you do? So there's a real contrast to how we treat others. If they happen to a friend, we'd be, oh my gosh, are you okay? How can I help? When it happens to us, we're like, oh my God, you're such an idiot. I can't believe I did that. So we're really hard on ourselves. So self-compassion is about treating yourself like a good friend, particularly when you're suffering. So when something's happened to you, you turn towards yourself and you give yourself the care that you need, instead of just jumping in and trying to problem solve or beating yourself up for doing something that you feel bad about. So one of the practices that I love is just called the self-compassion break. And it's wonderful because you can do it anytime, and you can give yourself the care that you need. So all you need to do, there's two parts to it. So first, you want to discover what type of touch, soothing touch, feels good to you. With self-compassion, we use touch a lot because when you touch yourself, so when you put your hand on your heart, for example, your body generates something called oxytocin, which is a hormone that makes you feel good. It's the same hormone that we generate when mother is breastfeeding, or when we through touch. Even when you stare at your dog, your oxytocin goes up and your dog's oxytocin go up. So it's the mammalian hormone of care and connection, but you can give it to yourself. So the first part is just simply to figure out what kind of soothing touch feels good to you. So you might want to put a hand on your cheek, just see how that feels. Perhaps cradle both hands, both use your hands to cradle your head. Maybe just stroking your arms feels nice for some people. A nice thing to do when you're in an office is just to hold your elbows, not up here, but down below, so nobody knows that you're giving yourself compassion. But big part is setting an intention. So right now I'm setting an intention to be there for myself. My favorite is probably hand on heart. So you can just try to put your hand on your heart, or try both hands. And just notice how it feels to have your hand against your heart. It's interesting when people are long-term meditators. I teach self-compassion a lot to other people who have done meditation, and they don't do the physical gesture, and it sort of brings the meditation to another level. You might want to sort of pat your belly and do circular motion. So just sort of explore, when you have a little time, what kind of touch feels good. So that's the first part. So the next part is, first you just want to shut your eyes. And I'd like you just to think about a time, a situation that's difficult for you. So something maybe you're experiencing in your life right now, which is causing you some degree of stress. And choose something sort of in the mid to moderate range, not a big problem, but just something that's bothering you right now. And just notice any discomfort that comes up as you think about this problem or issue. Just notice your body, perhaps doing a quick body scan and just noticing any tight places or uncomfortable sensations. And if you're not sensing anything in your body, maybe think of a problem that's a little bit more stressful for you. Now just say to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. And that's the mindful aspect of self-compassion. We notice when we're suffering so that we can give ourselves compassion. So this is a moment of suffering. You might want to use words like, this hurts, this is difficult. So just notice what you're experiencing right now in this moment. Now say to yourself, suffering is part of life. It's part of the human condition. It's something we all go through. It's normal. You're not alone, and other people feel this way. Everybody struggles, everybody hurts sometimes. No, just put your hands on your heart if they're not there already. And just notice the warmth of your hands on your chest, and the gentle touch, the soothing touch that you're giving yourself. Or if you'd like, you can touch another part of your body that feels soothing to you. Just notice what it's like to be there, giving yourself love and affection as you're suffering. And then just say, may I be kind to myself in this moment of suffering? May I give myself what I need? And just take a moment and just tune deep inside yourself and figure out, what do I need right now to feel better in this moment? And then when you're ready, just open your eyes and rejoin the webinar.
Well, thank you for that meditation. It was really wonderful. I appreciate that. One of the things that I think about that comes up, maybe for a lot of people, when you think about self-acceptance, is how does that relate to accomplishing things, to changing things? And especially when you look at yourself, maybe there are things you want to actually change about your body. Can you use self-acceptance to make those changes in a loving way? Is it possible that acceptance might actually help you more with accomplishing stuff than coming at it from a place of negativity?
Well, Carl Rogers said that the strange paradox is when I accept myself as I really am, then I can change. So it's not about not having goals. We need goals. We need a roadmap. We need to figure out, okay, I'm here. I want to be here. And that's a lot of what I do in Smash Your Scale. It's like, okay, let's visualize where you want to be and let's set, long and short-term goals and get you to this place. But you have to accept where I am now, because now is all we've got. This time, this place, this moment. And I think that's why so many of us meditate, is to be present in our day-to-day experience. If you are constantly running from the present moment, all you're going to do is sort of be on this critical stress roller coaster, which is not productive at all. If you say, okay, I accept my body as it is in this moment, and then you can say, okay, so where do I want to be? But I have to start where I am. So by accepting that, then we can do goals which are realistic for us to achieve. So goals are fantastic. You need to plan, you need goals, you need accountability. But when I used to work with people who were like, I hate my body, I can't accept myself right now, I must be different and then I'll be happy. Well, they never got to that place of happiness. Happiness, peace starts here. And I think, you shared a little bit of your personal story. A lot of us came from places of constantly, when I'm successful, then I'll be happy. Or this sort of constant dopamine squirts of being on this, it's the wheel of samsara of, I'll accomplish this, and then I feel good for a minute, and then that falls through, or something happens. So I think so much of being at peace and being calm and being healthy and getting to where you want to be is being realistic and accepting where you are in the moment and being realistic. Okay, so how am I eating now, right now? I can accept this. And what are the small changes that I'm going to make? So acceptance is really a key part. And I know for me, with self-compassion, I can accept that I'm really flawed. I do stupid things all the time. But, now I do stupid things and I go, well, that was stupid, but I love you, Ellen. Instead of, oh, I'm such an idiot, and creating all of this self-critical voice. And that's, again, a big piece of the self-compassion is really embracing our self-critic and figuring out, what is my self-critic there for? What's it trying to do? But then you sort of addressing it and then figuring out a more productive way. And again, that starts with this whole idea of self-acceptance and accepting your body. And let's face it, if you're breathing, there's a lot more going right than wrong. Our bodies, no matter where you're at, they're amazing. And, that's why I love this field so much, is because physical transformation, even with people who are elderly, can happen so readily if we just exercise and move our bodies and eat right and get enough sleep and deal with our stress. If we start to make daily changes, we see profound results and we become happier, healthier people. So acceptance is really where it's at. The whole self-loathing, I hate my body, I'm going to go on a diet, starve myself, absolutely doesn't work. And studies have shown, again, that it raises this cortisol level. You generate these stress hormones, which really undermine your ability to think clearly and take care of yourself. And they also create belly fat. So, and they increase your appetite. So cortisol increases appetite and increases weight gain. So criticizing yourself and not accepting yourself is the absolute wrong thing to do.
Can you talk a little bit about your own background when it comes to like how did you learn how to meditate? What happened for you when you started meditating? Can you share something about that journey?
Well, I basically learned meditation because it was my dissertation topic. It was one of those things on the list of, yeah, I should do this. I've always been really spiritual, but really sitting down, having a formal meditation practice was not something I did. I had a formal exercise practice, but I'm busy. I've got, two kids and a husband and a dog and, and I'm an entrepreneur. I do a ton of stuff. And so I was basically studying and researching women's magazines and looking at how destructive they were. And I wanted to offer women an alternative to the, lose 5 pounds in 2 seconds by eating chocolate. And I decided to choose meditation as an intervention and then found, self-compassion as a specific meditation. So I figured, well, if I'm going to be teaching this and this is going to be my dissertation, I better learn to do it. So pretty much I learned through audiobooks. I listened to Rick Hanson to start with, sites like yours wasn't in existence yet, but, there was a lot of things online. So listening to a lot of sort of Sounds True and meditation tapes. Then I took the initial self-compassion course, which is either taught as a 5-day intensive. It was developed by Kristen Neff, who's kind of the pioneer of self-compassion, and Chris Germer, who also is a huge researcher in this area of self-compassion as well. He's one of the leading experts on sort of Buddhist psychology. And so I took their 5-day intensive. So you can take it as an 8-week course or a 5-day intensive. And so that sort of taught me different types of meditations. I mean, the self-compassion incorporates a lot of loving kindness meditation. There's things like breathing meditation, although what we do is it's affectionate breathing. So the breath is sort of turned inwardly. So the focus of self-compassion is always on giving yourself the care that you need. So the focus is a little different when you're just doing kind of mindfulness meditation, that the focus is always on really alleviating suffering in the meditator. But we use a lot of the same types of meditations that you'll find in other types of teaching. So, over the years, I've developed a regular practice, and now I'm teaching it, which is really exciting because it forces you to take your practice to an even higher level. And it's just, I love teaching and seeing the people experiencing the meditation in the moment, both teaching it online, which is really powerful because people can be in the comfort of their home, and you can reach so many people as well as teaching face to face. So it's been a really great journey. I'm really glad that I discovered meditation and have been practicing it for a number of years.
Can you talk about your current practice of meditation? Like when do you practice? For how long? What exactly do you do? How is it part of your day?
Sure. I usually meditate first thing in the morning because I think it's a great time to sort of set the tone for the day. And also just like when I work with people sometimes with exercise, if you don't do it, the day just goes by. So generally, I live in Vermont, so the weather's so nice now that sometimes I start my day with just a walking meditation because where I live is beautiful and I have a big fluffy dog. And so the birds are singing, nature is so alive. And I think one of the huge benefits of meditating and being mindful is understanding that we're part of nature and that we're connected to nature. So I might go on like a half an hour walk with my dog, and then I would come back to I have a beautiful meditation space with a big round window that, again, overlooks nature, and then probably sit for at least, 20 minutes, maybe on the weekends I'll sit more like 45, but nothing crazy. And I think a lot of people think, oh my God, I have to like go on a retreat and I have to meditate for hours. Truthfully, it's like exercise. 5-10 minutes to start will have profound benefits. So if you can just set that little bit of time aside, and then sometimes I'll also meditate, in the evening when I have a little bit more time, but generally, 20 minutes a day, a little bit more on the weekends or evenings when I have a little bit more time. But I also really love listening to people like yourself and new meditations, and everybody's got a different take on it. So it's an exciting time to kind of up the level of spirituality in the world and be part of it, because there's just a very engaging energy that so many people are getting infected with. So it's really cool to be part of it.
And can you share with us a little bit about what are some of the results that you feel like you've gotten from meditation, or how has your practice of meditation affected you? How's it changed you?
Wow, it's more like what hasn't it done is What I like to say, I'll be truthful. When I started, I was on antidepressants, and so I had, clinical depression. And so that's gone. I still have days that I'm depressed, but I'm not taking medication. So that's, I think, the most sort of clinical change that I'm fine. So that's huge. Certainly, I experience being alive on a completely different level. I think there's this whole idea of waking up. And so I have a very different perspective on who I am and what I am, sort of being a soul living in a body. And it's kind of flipped out when you think about it. Like we just sort of land here, and if we have our own kids, and it's just like life's very profound. I mean, we just kind of show up. And so you have this perspective of what's really incredible in life. And again, it's not the getting the call from Oprah or getting the book deal. I mean, initially, those were the things that would, float my boat, get me excited. And so this is perspective that those things actually lead to suffering. I mean, they're great when they happen, don't get me wrong, but there's always a down. And so you get this level of well-being that can be constant. Or even when I'm having a day where I'm feeling kind of muddy and not so good, I can accept that. So there's a self-acceptance, there's a letting go. So, if I have a fight with my husband or something, I can let it go. I don't have to hold on to that negativity. If something happens, I can give myself a little, do that self-compassion, a hand on heart. It's great to do if you're having a heated argument, you need to take a 5-minute break. So, I'm very present. I'm much more awake. Certainly the depression, I feel completely different about my body. The negative body image is gone. And when I work with people, it's hard. They want it to go away quick. And it takes a long time to gain a different perspective on who and what you are. I think meditation is a very embodied practice. I mean, we sit on a cushion or lie down or sit on a chair, and we're in our bodies and we're very aware of this energy. So I think for me, I'm also getting a much more, can feel the energy in my body. And so when I meditate and I focus on that, perhaps focusing on light coming from my body or from different chakras, I can notice that from, during the day, I can sense the energy. And I tell people, like, just notice the energy in your hands. If you're feeling I'm not in the moment, just sort of see if you can feel that energy. So I just have a very different perspective on who and what I am, and a sense of fulfillment. And certainly it's changed the way I work with people. So I'm certainly working with people from that place of being mindful, of being compassionate towards yourself. And I'd say also my level of compassion towards others has totally changed. I don't know how much of that is the meditation and how much of it is the self-compassion. I do hospice work. And sometimes I have this compassion for these total strangers that's just overwhelming. And it's coming from me, but I feel like I'm like a channel for that. Like I'll be with this person who's dying, who I've never met before, and have this overwhelming love for them. Or just, the sense of overwhelming love when you clear your channels through meditation and become present. You just feel different in life. So I don't know, it's a big yay meditation, get on a cushion and do it. It's not that hard. I think that's what we were alluding to earlier, that you just need to be present in your life for 5 minutes to start with. And just, set a goal of I'm going to do this 3 times a week for 5 minutes and see what it does, and then build up from there and get some education. But the research is overwhelming that it completely changes your brain and your life. So it's changed mine, and I think I will probably meditate for the rest of my life.
Well, Dr. Albertson, what a pleasure it's been talking to you today. Thanks so much for sharing all about yourself and your story and what you do and what you have to offer with our viewers.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
I encourage all of you to check out SmashYourScale.com and read through some of Dr. Albertson's work, her study on meditation and self-compassion and body image is great, and she's got lots of blog posts and interesting stuff on her website. And for those of you who'd like to learn more about the practice of meditation, get started with meditation, I have a whole set of free resources for you. Go to my website, meditation2.0.com/subscribe, and I'll give you 8 videos about the types of meditation and several free meditations that you can get started practicing right away, and a whole set of other resources. Thanks so much for watching this video. Namaste.